You're gonna be okay. You're gonna be okay. Oh, the sun will keep on rising in that old familiar way, and every little thing is gonna be okay. You're gonna be alright, darling. You're gonna be alright, 'cause the stars will keep on shining through the darkest night, and you can know you're gonna be alright. Lift your eyes to the hills, remember where your help comes from. Lift your eyes to the hills, you'll never face a valley alone. 'Cause even when your heart is breaking and you've gone and lost your way, you're gonna be okay. You're gonna be okay. I know that you're gonna be okay. Not a care in this whole world can take that truth away. You're gonna be okay. You're gonna be alright, darling. You're gonna be alright. At the end of all our breath, when we're beckoned on to the light, love will meet you there. You're gonna be alright. Oh, the end of all our breath is the beginning of new life. You're gonna be alright. Letting go of every single dream, I lay each one down at your feet. Every moment of my wandering never changes what you see. I've tried to win this war, I confess. My hands are weary, I need your rest. Mighty warrior, king of the fight. No matter what I face, you're by my side. When you don't move the mountains, I'm needing you to move. When you don't part the waters, I wish I could walk through. When you don't give the answers as I cry out to you, I will trust, I will trust, I will trust in you. Truth is, you know what tomorrow brings. There's not a day ahead you have not seen. So in all things, be my life and breath. I want what you want, Lord, and nothing less. When you don't move the mountains, I'm needing you to move. When you don't part the waters, I wish I could walk through. When when the best of me is barely breathing, when I'm not somebody I believe in, hold on to me. When I miss the light, the night is stolen, when I'm slamming all the doors you've opened, hold on to me.
Good morning. If you wouldn't mind, start finding your seat. We're going to begin in about 2 minutes. Please find your seat. Red folder. Waters? Yeah, that's a great idea. Thank you. Keep finding your seats. We're about ready to kick off. Some media in the back, running on a very specific schedule. Thank you very much. Hey. Well, that quieted down fast. Okay. Got a few more coming in, but we're going to kick things off. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Ascension Parish. This is the first stop of the Speaker of the House's Legislative Roadshow. My name is Donnie Miller. I'm the President and CEO at the Ascension Chamber, and I'm honored to be here and emceeing today's event. On behalf of our Chamber, our members, and our great community, we're delighted to host you here in the Price LeBlanc Pace Center. First and foremost, I want to extend our gratitude to Speaker Philip de Villiers and Representative Tony Bacala for bringing this important conversation out into our communities. And also a huge thank you to Carly Cryer, Stephanie Robin, and Meg Sundstrom. Today would not have been possible without their hard work behind the scenes and quick response to make sure it happened. This roadshow provides a valuable opportunity for dialogue between our legislators, business leaders, and citizens across the state. We're proud that Ascension Parish was chosen to launch this series, and we thank you for allowing us to serve as your host. I also want to recognize and thank many elected officials, community leaders, and stakeholders who have joined this morning. Your service and commitment make a real difference in our community. Whether it's strengthening our schools, supporting our businesses, or ensuring that our communities remain safe and vibrant, it takes all of us working together to build a stronger future for Louisiana, and your presence here speaks volumes about this shared commitment. Ascension Parish continues to be one of the fastest growing parishes in Louisiana. At the Ascension Chamber, we're proud to play a role in supporting that growth, helping businesses thrive, building partnerships, advocating for policies that create opportunity for all. And here's a fact that we take pride in sharing. Ascension Parish is consistently ranked among the top parishes for our state for job growth and economic vitality. This success doesn't happen by accident. It happens because of the collaboration and hard work of leaders like these that are gathered here in this room today. So once again, thank you all for being here. Thank you to the speaker and our legislators for leading this important discussion, and thank you to our community partners for everything you do to keep Ascension strong. We're excited to help launch this roadshow and look forward to a dialogue and ideas that will come from this, and as it travels across the state. We look forward to your participation in today. If you're interested in asking a question, the speaker's team has included question cards on each of your tables. Feel free to fill them out and leave them on your table once completed. They'll be collected and distributed to the proper individual for review and feedback. Now, if you'd please rise and join Representative Vanessa LaFleur for the invocation, followed by a Pledge of Allegiance.
Good morning, everyone. Will you please bow your heads in reverence as we approach the throne of grace? Dear Heavenly Father, we come before you with grateful hearts as we gather as community and community leaders. Bless this gathering with wisdom, unity, and discernment. Help us to serve with compassion, integrity, and humility. Guide all of our decisions and actions to foster growth, understanding, and peace within our community. May your spirit inspire collaboration and inspire us all to lead with love and purpose. Thank you for the opportunity to make positive change and difference in all of our communities. God, we thank you for every opportunity that you have given us to serve your people, and we ask your continued blessings upon those gathering and those in the community as well. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Good morning. Hand over your heart, please, and recite along with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Now it's my privilege to introduce a leader who has demonstrated unwavering commitment to the people of Ascension Parish. Under his stewardship, the parish has continued to focus on growth, resilience, and opportunity. This is all while keeping the needs of families and businesses at the forefront. Please join me in welcoming Ascension Parish President, Mr. Clint Quintmall.
Good morning. On behalf of all of us here in Ascension Parish, it's an honor to welcome you to the very first stop of the legislative show. We're glad you're here. Ascension is one of the fastest growing parishes in Louisiana, and we're known for our hardworking people, rich culture, and strong sense of community. Just a couple weeks ago, I had the privilege of joining Governor Jeff Landry to highlight the unprecedented growth happening here. Together, we celebrated billions of dollars in new industrial investment, innovative clean energy projects, and balanced approach we're taking to protect both opportunity and quality of life. The same spirit of progress, collaboration, is what today is about. The past legislative session brought us big wins for Ascension Parish government, as well as our municipalities, including House Bill number 2, that brings critical capital investment dollars to our community for our West Ascension Early Learning Center, our parish utilities water plant, the Energy Transition Parkway, and several transportation projects. House Bill 209 raises the performance bond requirement for $25,000 to $250,000, giving us a stronger tool to ensure quality and accountability in development. Senate Bill number 139 allows long-term leasing at Lamar-Dixon Expo Center, opening new doors for growth and events that benefit our entire region. House Bill 460 delivered multiple direct investments here, including $500,000 for Manshack Road improvements with a new roundabout at Bro and Germany roads, $750,000 for Lamar-Dixon Expo Foundation, which supports economic expansion and community growth. These successes only happen when state leaders, local governments, and our community work together. Today is another example of that partnership. So thank you to our state legislators, the Baton Rouge Area Chamber, the Ascension Chamber for making today possible, and welcome to Ascension Parish, a place of growth, innovation, and community. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate the time and dedication to come out today. It's my honor to introduce a gentleman whose vision and dedication continue to guide the growth and vitality of the city of Gonzales. He's been a strong advocate for both community and economic development, always striving to enhance the quality of life for residents and businesses alike. Please join me in welcoming the Mayor of Gonzales, Mayor Tim Riley.
What a great day in the city of Gonzales. I just want to thank each and every one of you all for coming out this morning. I want to let you all know that we are the very first to host this road show. I am so proud to be the very first to hold the show here in Gonzales. Thank you all so much. We want you all to enjoy your stay and have a great time and listen to our legislators. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Mayor Riley. We're moving things right along. It's an honor to welcome a leader whose dedication to regional growth and collaboration has made a lasting impact for our business community. Through her role at the Baton Rouge Area Chamber, she has championed innovation, investment, and opportunities that strengthen our entire region. Award-winning organization, please join me in recognizing Mrs. Lori Melanson.
Good morning. What an incredible way to kick off this statewide legislative roadshow right here in Ascension Parish, the very heart of our capital region. Thank you to our friend Donnie Miller and the Ascension Chamber, the City of Gonzales, our policymakers who are in the arena working for a better Louisiana, and all of our regional partners for making today possible. We're here today because we believe in something bigger than ourselves. We believe in the power of our shared communities. And we believe that when business leaders, community leaders, and policymakers come together, we can do extraordinary things. From tax policy to public safety, insurance to infrastructure, early childhood education to economic development, these issues aren't abstract. They affect every business, every family, and every future we're building throughout the capital region. Yesterday, the Greater Baton Rouge Metro was named a top 10 metro in the United States for growth by Selection Magazine. Yeah, top 10. Top 10 of a good list. We're seeing thousands of new jobs and historic industrial investment, and Ascension Parish is leading the way. With that growth comes new challenges or opportunities. At the Baton Rouge Area Chamber, we believe that as a community, we are at an inflection point, a moment in time when we get to choose who we will become for the next generation and beyond. On behalf of BRAC, our partners, and the business community from around the capital region, thank you for being here. Thank you for caring about the future of Louisiana, and thank you for being partners in our work.
You're doing amazing work at the Baton Rouge Area Chamber. We appreciate Lori spending some time with us this morning. It's my privilege to introduce a dedicated public servant who's represented the people of District 59 with commitment and integrity. In the Louisiana House of Representatives, he has worked diligently to advance policies that strengthen our communities and improve the lives of his constituents. Please help me in welcoming Representative Tony Bakla.
We're ready to kick this show off. But just a few points before we begin the actual presentations. You've already been welcome to Ascension Parish several times. I'll do it again. Thank you all for coming. And one thing I'd like to do real quick, if you're an elected official, please stand up and be recognized. And legislators, would you all stand up for a moment? Because if we're going through this presentation today, certain of us will be presenting, but you got to know this is a team effort. Everything that we have accomplished hasn't been the work of one person, but the work of 105 state representatives and 39 senators. We can't do it without the team. So thank you guys for all of your work. My comments will be short because we have a lot of ground to cover. But I have to say this. Never in the history of the state of Louisiana has there been such a concerted effort to move our state forward. And today's event is the opportunity to see the whole picture. You know, when you read the newspaper, you see a little something that happened, a little piece here, a little piece there, but it's like pieces of a puzzle. that little one piece might look good, but when you put the whole thing together, when you put all the 100 puzzle pieces together, you really start seeing an image, a picture that tells a story more than the individual piece. So today what we're going to try to do is take the pieces, put them together, and give you a real idea of what is going on at the state level in moving our state forward. Now, about 3 weeks ago, the speaker called and asked if we would organize this event. And I'll be honest with you, I sort of panicked because I'm not good at organizing events. So I called Donnie Miller, and I'm so proud to say when I said, Donnie, will you help me with this? Basically, he said, yep, we can make it happen. Put me in the show, and Donnie took this thing and ran with it. So a big, giant thank you to Donnie for making this event happen. Now, to everybody who's here today, thank you for coming. We know you could be somewhere else, but you've taken time out of your day to come here and spend it with the legislators who are present. And I know that's because you care about what's going on in this state. I know there are a lot of people here in education and a lot of people here with parish government. You care is why you're here, and you want to see what we're doing. And so this is truly a team. I mean, legislation that we move forward is often first your idea, then you bring it to me, and we do something. So it's always a team effort between the public, the legislators, the legislature, and you're a valuable component in us moving this state forward. You help us. You help us formulate ideas and get things across the finish line. Now, I've got to tell you, there's been some tough topics that we've taken on. You know, the state, you know where we were. I think you know where we would like to be, and we're going to give you a little blurb today about where we are on that map, where we are on that journey from where we were to where we're going. And I think you'll figure out that we've taken on some pretty darn big challenges. And we haven't shied away. You know, a lot of things that we've done, who would have believed, when you see these presentations, who would have believed we could move up in education as far as we have? Who would have believed 18 months ago that we could have moved up our economic rating? I won't steal their thunder. I won't steal the thunder of those presenting, but pay attention. At the end of the day, I think you'll be proud of what's happening in this state. And I think you have to understand, we know, just as you do, we have done a lot, but there's more to do. And we're standing here today before you saying, we're moving forward. We're not stopping. We're not slowing down. In the next 2 years, I just hope that we have the same kind of gains we've seen in the last 18 months, because it's time for Louisiana to be at the forefront of this country, and we really haven't been there. You know it. So I didn't even get on. I think I lost my speech on the first paragraph. I apologize. I'm not good at paper. I have to do this. I have to say thank you to our speaker. Philip, will our speaker stand up, please? You know why we've never had legislative road shows go all over the state? Because we never had Philip DeVilliers before. And Philip comes in, and I got to tell you a little bit about our speaker, and he will come up later on. You'll get to hear from him. But if you ever go to the Capitol early in the morning for a little meeting, and you end up in the speaker's office, and there's 6 or 8 people in that meeting, you know the first thing he's going to say? Let's all join hands and say a little prayer. That's not public, that's in private, and it's every time. And he says, now what's going on in your day today? And we talk. It's a different kind of spirit, a different kind of leadership. And what Speaker DeVilliers said was, we're taking our show on the road. We're going to tell the state what we have been doing, and we're going to make sure that everybody understands. So this brainchild, what we're doing here today is singularly Speaker DeVilliers' baby. And you know what's neat about our speaker, besides he likes to start every day with a prayer, is he doesn't want to be at the forefront. He wants to be behind the scenes, but we had to make him. We said, nope, Speaker, you got to come up and at least close this meeting out. So he ought to be standing where I'm at right now, welcoming you, but he refused. So again, humble man, praying man, thoughtful man, and a guy who created these road shows, and I hope you'll learn something today that you can bring home and say, wow. Now, one last thing, you'll see comment cards on your table. If you have a little comment you'd like to share with us, just fill it out. If you have something that you want to talk about, fill it out. At the end of the day, we'll pick up those cards. It's important that we hear from you. So with that said, I'm also your first speaker. So let's, if we'll move.
After years of being ranked 50th in everything, there's finally real momentum coming out of the legislature and Governor Jeff Landry's administration, one of the most ambitious and fast-moving reform efforts we've ever seen. But so far, it's the biggest story no one's talking about. We tackled the root of our insurance crisis, passing historic tort reform and major insurance changes to stop jackpot lawsuits, shut down fraud, and finally bring relief to families and businesses crushed by rising premiums. We cut taxes across the board, flattening income tax, lowering corporate rates, and eliminating the outdated franchise tax once and for all. We jumped into the top 15 nationally for business tax climate, fueling over $60 billion in new economic investment across Louisiana, and launching the High Impact Jobs Program to attract long-term, high-wage employers. We revived oil and gas by cutting the severance tax in half and putting legacy lawsuits on a path to extinction, clearing the way for drilling, jobs, and long-term growth. We paid down pension debt and made historic deposits into state savings, laying the groundwork to finally pay teachers at the Southern average. We reformed the Department of Transportation and funded a $100 million plan to replace 62 aging bridges, with every project on track for completion within a year. We climbed from last place to 32nd in the national education rankings, one of the biggest jumps in the country. And we increased TOPS to help keep our best students from leaving for out-of-state schools. We made historic investments in college campuses that had been ignored for decades. We also passed truth in sentencing, making sure violent criminals serve the full time given by a judge or jury. We've spent 18 months rewriting Louisiana's story. We are finally moving forward, and the momentum is real. Louisiana is undergoing a historic transformation.
The old song says, long way to go and a short time to get there. That kind of sums it up. We've had a long way to go. We're rolling at it. So again, first thing we will have on the agenda is a little overview of criminal justice. Now, the chairman of the Criminal Justice Committee is Lori Slagle, but she had some other business to attend to today, so she couldn't attend. Debbie Villio. Lori Slagle's next. Debbie Villio's Debbie Villio's our chair. Great woman. She's a former prosecutor in Jefferson Parish. She has the nickname of the Hammer when you go down there. Everybody's afraid of Debbie. She is a strong-willed woman, as all of us in the legislature know. Debbie gave me notes for a presentation, so we'll go through what she would be saying if she was here. So I can't see that too well, but the first thing I know we want to talk about is truth in sentencing. Now, let's just kind of go back. If you've ever been the victim of a crime, or I know everybody follows crime, and you see in the newspaper that a horrible criminal has gotten a sentence of 10 years in prison. And we say, well, that seems appropriate, 10 years. He went with a pistol into a convenience store and robbed him, and he got 10 years in prison. Well, you know what? That 10 years was not even close under the old system. Anybody who got 10 years in prison was likely to serve 3.5 years. That's all. Then they're out. And everybody said, hey, I thought he got 10 years in prison. Why is he out? It's only 3. You ever thought that? You ever saw that? Well, Truth in Sentencing says, hell no. 10 years is 10 years. We're not going to play the game like we're giving hard sentences, but really people are getting out. Now, we do give a little buffer. It's 15%. The corrections people came to us said it's really important that we have some incentive for people to behave in prison. So we're not going to take this down where you only serve 30% of your time. We're going to make you serve 85%. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that everybody's going to get 10 years for that same crime in the future. Judges have to adjust, but it is truth in sentencing. When you see a sentence, you can say, yep, that's appropriate. So Truth in Sentencing just tries to make sure that we're not just throwing out fictitious numbers when we talk about people who are convicted by a jury and sentenced by a judge and a public expectation that justice has been done. Let's move on to some of our convenience store drugs. This has been a problem, and Ascension Parish took the lead. We had already outlawed the sale of Kratom in Ascension Parish. Thank you. Kratom, let me tell you what it is. The nickname says it all. Kratom is called convenience store heroin. That's the nickname. Convenience store heroin. In every drug that hits the market is legal until we make it illegal. So there's all kind of things that it might be on the shelves. The drug dealer, the guy that's lurking in the corner of behind the tree around in the alley. We can deal with them, but it's the store-bought stuff that's really problematic, because you know why? It's not even behind the counter half the time. Any kid that walks in can pick up a gummy bear for $3 and go get high. Not anymore. Convenience store heroin, kratom. It's a naturally occurring leaf from the Southeast Asia. It's so bad that where it's grown has outlawed it. Thailand, Malaysia, they don't allow any consumption of this drug, kratom. But they just bring it over here, and you were seeing it everywhere. Now, there are all kind of stories about it, horror stories. Kratom is an addictive drug, so you could go to the convenience store, buy kratom off the shelf. Pretty soon you're addicted to it, and it just created horrible outcomes. At the same time, there were a lot of people who promoted it. Yeah, I was addicted to heroin. I'm addicted to this. Kratom is my way off. But you're just replacing one addiction with another. And you're adding new people to that addiction list because they can go in and get kratom off the street. It is no longer. And let me tell you, this is what it seems like a simple thing. You would be shocked at the people who came in for the last 2 or 3 years until we finally got the guts to ban this stuff, who would come in, the millionaires, the producers who would come in and rail about how good it was. So this was not an easy legislation to pass. But we finally did it. We've taken kratom off the streets of Louisiana. Anybody ever go to the dentist back a few years ago and one of the things that was an option, you could get nitrous oxide to get before they did your tooth work, right? Remember that? And it's kind of like it hurt, but I didn't care, right? So you would, and that was just another option. But, actually that nitrous oxide that you got in the dentist's office was mixed with oxygen, because everybody knows too much nitrous, not enough oxygen, and you asphyxiate. But that laughing gas, that little euphoria you get, nobody ever went to the dentist and got nitrous oxide? Nobody? Okay, you should have. It was fun. Guess what? You start taking these canisters, it's a compressed gas, right? And you start painting them up with little rainbows and little teddy bears, and you make them real bright and shiny, and you put it on the shelf, and guess what? Just like the kratom, go in there and get you a bottle of nitrous oxide. Not even any oxygen in this stuff. It's not like the stuff you went to the dentist, right? And when you went to the dentist, they watched you, made sure you were okay, you didn't get too much administered, and they made sure your head was clear before you drove away. But you could get this in any kind of size, little canisters, big canisters, unregulated. unregulated. So what is it? What happens? The kids go, they get these little bottles of nitrous, they put themselves under, and they have this little euphoria, and some of them die. Why? Asphyxiation. You're blowing, you're not getting any oxygen because all you're doing is sucking in this nitrous oxide, and it's just an unintended consequence. But really what's damn shame is the way they package this to sell. They put it in a package that appeals. They even put, you know what they even do? They sold it in flavors. You would flavor it, fruity flavored nitrous oxide. Who are you appealing to? Time to get that stuff off the street. And we did. No longer can you just go in off the street and buy this nitrous oxide. It is now a substance that is heavily controlled in the state of Louisiana. And the other thing is, I said it earlier, every drug is legal until we make it illegal. So guess what? The chemists are always doing these fly-by-nights. They're always creating a new substance to get people high, so you're always a year behind. There's always, whatever we do today, they're going to create something new tomorrow so that they can, just keep rolling through. And really what's a shame, we go back to where it's marketed. It used to be that, you remember they used to sell it as fertilizer even. Plant fertilizer. You go get some plant fertilizer, it was a synthetic marijuana, and people were nutty on that stuff. But now they take these synthetics and they know their audience. They're not selling it as plant fertilizer anymore. They're selling it as gummy bears. They're selling it as chocolates. They're wrapping it up in brightly colored packages, and most of the stuff you don't even have to go to buy on the counter. It's on the counter. We're trying to stay ahead of that. We've outlawed more and more of those, and it's just always a running game to try to stay ahead. We're trying to protect our children from these horrible people who think it's okay to make millions of ruining lives. And we talk about this. We know the fentanyl drug epidemic, right? Fentanyl is killing. I think Baton Rouge, one of the numbers I saw in 2023, 161 people died of fentanyl overdoses in Baton Rouge, and I just don't have the Ascension numbers I'd give it, in 2023. Wow. You know what we did when heroin was killing people in the 60s and 70s? You know how you finally addressed the heroin crisis that was just like the fentanyl crisis today? You know what the answer ended up being why heroin just went away? You made it so that people were scared to sell it. Back then we said, okay, heroin's killing, heroin's ruining lives. Here's the deal. You sell heroin, you're going to prison for a long time. We didn't have to reinvent the wheel for fentanyl. We're just following the path that worked before. So going forward, if you're out there selling fentanyl or drugs that are laced with fentanyl, we're going to make it tough on you. You're going to do 25 to 99 years in prison if you're dealing fentanyl. This is the first step. And people will have to start learning. I sell it, I'm going to prison for life. That's a reality. It worked with heroin. Now let's let it work for fentanyl and end this crisis. There's a lot of things you're not going to see on the board, but I'm going to kind of touch on them. Carjacking. Y'all remember the story in New Orleans, a 17-year-old woman carjacked by 3 teenagers and dragged to death? Carjacking became this teen sport, right? I mean, they would do it for fun. Let's go carjack somebody tonight. People were getting hurt. People were dying. People were getting their kids in the back seat. Their car is carjacked. They don't know. They just lost a baby in the back seat in the car seat. You read all those stories? Well, we're taking that seriously too, and I'm going to come back to carjacking in a little bit. But we sort of recognize, what's the difference? Sticking a gun in your face and robbing a store, or sticking a gun in the face and taking your car? We're starting to treat them like the same. So the carjacking sentences, we're starting to look at it like what it is. A serious crime, 5 to 20 years. And if an injury occurs, like that woman getting pulled to death, now he's charged with murder, 20 to 30 years, you're going to prison. Now let's talk about, I'm gonna get out of order a little bit. You know why carjacking just skyrocketed? Am I up? Okay, they're telling me I'm done. I got to cover one topic before I get off the stage. One short topic. I was all for raise the age a few years ago. Let's make 17-year-olds be treated as juveniles. I was all for it. I thought it was a great idea. It was a horrible idea. Because you know what? 17-year-olds suddenly realized they had no consequences. Guess what they were doing? Let's go carjack some cars. We had to reverse that. We had to get back on track. We're back to 17-year-olds aren't getting the free pass anymore. So I've got about 10 more topics to cover, but I got the finger up. I mean, it was a thumb, but I get, anyway. So next up, one of my dear friends, second term legislator from Jefferson Parish, Lori Schlegel, who I introduced earlier instead of Debbie Villio, who is the chairwoman of our education committee. She's going to share some great things with you guys.
Thank you, Tony. And as Rep. Bacala said, I chaired the House Education Committee, so I want to acknowledge our committee, because our committee, it's not always easy to serve on education, but we have a lot of members who are very passionate about improving education, and there's a few of them here today. I saw Rep. Barbara Freiberg and Rep. Ken Brass. I think he stepped out. So they not only serve on our committee, but they also pass legislation around improving education. So as you can see, the national report card came out this year, and in Louisiana, we moved from 49th 5 years ago to 32nd, which is huge because Louisiana's always been in the bottom. And so I want that applause to also be shared by our amazing visionary leader, Superintendent Cade Brumley. He works very well with the legislature. And so we not only moved up to 32nd, but also in fourth grade reading, we moved up to 16th. We were at the bottom, now we're 16th, and we're in the top 5 for math growth. So we're really heading in the positive trajectory, and I think that's because of a few things. So the legislature passed a few initiatives. One is called Getting Back to the Basics. And it's getting back again to teaching teachers the science of reading. We also are doing that with numeracy, so teaching them the foundations of how to teach numeracy. We also do where we're doing screening for literacy, so for kindergarten to third grade, there multiple times throughout the year they're getting screened for literacy, and if any child is falling behind, there's interventions including high dosage tutoring. So we're wanting to make sure when our kids get to third grade that they learn how to read. And so getting back to the basics, I think, has really been instrumental in moving those numbers. We also did last year called Let Teachers Teach, and so we passed some laws around taking away some of those unnecessary mandates that are on teachers to get them back to what they do is teaching. Also to improve disciplinary, we empowered our teachers to do better classroom management, and so I think that also helped provide a good environment in empowering our teachers. We also banned cell phones during class times, and so that's really a bipartisan effort that's moving across the nation. Last year, we also, in what Governor Landry has titled the LA Gator Scholarship Program, we expanded school choice, because not every education fits the needs of a child, and so we want to make sure our children have choices, that they can choose what school best fits their needs. So that is our LA Gator Scholarship Program. We also, which was my little baby, what we noticed in the Education Committee is that we're losing our best and brightest to colleges like Alabama, Ole Miss, and so 10 years ago, it was where our honor students were accepting their TOPS awards at an 83%. Now we're at 72%. So those children are going to Alabama and Ole Miss, and we're not competitive when it comes to the financial packages that those schools offer. So this year starts the excellence level. So if you have a 31 plus on your ACT or a 3.5 GPA, your award is $12,000, and so that could be used at any Louisiana public college, and it will cover all of your tuitions and fees. So we want to make sure after we're educating our children that they're actually staying in our state. So thank you all for coming to hear this today. I am super passionate about children, and I believe there's no higher calling than to help raise up the next generation to be fully functional adults. And I'm very proud to work with the legislature that we have here. I do believe that we're going to continue to move our state forward and hopefully prevent all the things that Rep. Bacala talked about by educating our children, giving them purpose, and helping them to be good functioning adults in our state. So thank you so much. Oh, next up, as Rep. McMakin calls us the chair ladies, I'm going to introduce my other fellow chairwoman, who is the chairwoman of Ways and Means, and her name is Rep. Julie Emerson from Carencro, Louisiana.
All right, thank you, Chairwoman Schlegel. And you know, any public speaking 101 class you go to, they will tell you to never start out with an apology. But I do feel the need to let you guys know I don't usually sound like this. I'm on day 7 of like laryngitis, pharyngitis, some kind of itis. I don't know. The Advocate wrote an article about me last Thursday. I immediately got inflamed. I don't know what to tell you. But I'm here to talk to you about taxes. Who likes paying taxes? That's what I thought. Who likes eliminating taxes? Yeah, that's the thing. I get the distinct privilege of chairing the House Ways and Means Committee, where we talk about taxes pretty much every committee meeting. And I will tell you, the thing I've learned in the 2 years that I've been the chairwoman of this committee is that absolutely nobody likes paying taxes, no matter what form they come in. So last November, we were tasked with trying to figure out the fairest and best way to tax and to also try to stimulate our economy, because frankly, Louisiana was in the bottom 10 in tax policy and business competitiveness. We were very low in economic growth, and the governor came and said, look, we need to change our tax policy. We need to modernize. All the states around us are doing it, and Louisiana has to keep up. So let's figure out a way to do that. And I said, well, Governor, I got to tell you, many governors and many legislatures, including the previous 2, this is my 3rd term, so my previous 2 terms, we tried to address this issue, and we failed a lot, because unfortunately, nobody likes talking about taxes. So we put our heads together, we went into a special session this past November to really concentrate on trying to put Louisiana in a position to win. And the way that we were going to try to do that is to try to move away from what I call mandated taxes, like income taxes, property taxes, things that the government basically tells you this is what you have to pay taxes on, shift more toward consumption-based taxation, which, again, it's not a choice if you have to pay it, but you do get a little bit more flexibility in how you pay it. And we still have exemptions on things like groceries and necessary items like that. So it was quite a tall task. But I'm happy to tell you that with all of the changes and all the reforms that we've made, Louisiana immediately jumped from the bottom 10 to the top 15 in business competitiveness. We've seen close to $70 billion worth of economic investment in our state since we did this. We've been recognized by lots of different organizations, the tax foundations, American Legislative Exchange Council, for our work. ALEC ranked us 50th in economic performance last year, but then they ranked us 18th in economic outlook. So that means based on the changes that we made, they see Louisiana making a huge jump in the years to come, which will hopefully put us on a much better path moving forward. One thing that the governor, and I certainly shared this opinion, we wanted to try to move toward eliminating the income tax. You've seen many states around us. Texas has been at 0. Tennessee's been at 0. Florida's been at 0. Mississippi kind of made a splash and made headlines after we had our November tax session by saying they were moving towards 0. They tried to steal our thunder because here's the thing. They saw what we were doing and they got really nervous. So they were like, oh man, we got to get to zero as well. But really the cool thing, what we did in November was we flattened our income tax rate and we increased the standard deduction. So every single person in Louisiana is now currently paying less than income tax. So we had 3 different brackets. We had 1.85, we had 3.5, and we had 4.25. So we raised that standard deduction, so virtually eliminating that 1.85 bracket, taking that to 0. And then we took the 3.5 down to 3 and the 4.25 down to 3. So everyone's paying at 3% right now. What Mississippi's plan did is they want to get, their goal is to get to 3% by 2027. We are already there. So we are already beating Mississippi. We plan to continue doing that in all aspects of life, including college football. And and then after they get to 3%, after they get to where Louisiana currently is, then they get into a phase-off pattern of trigger language of, if we have a certain amount of growth, we're going to continue to decrease it by 0.25. But I'm here to tell you, Louisiana is going to beat that. I believe we will eliminate our income tax before Mississippi does. As I went around the state speaking to several different businesses, organizations, stakeholders and all of this, community leaders, everyone virtually said the same thing, that our tax situation was just very convoluted, especially on the business side. If you have a small business, if you have a corporation in Louisiana, once you got past all of the different incentives and credits and you hired all these consultants to tell you how to get a lower tax burden, then the overall burden was not that high, but it was very, very complicated to get there. So our other goal, besides trying to get to zero income tax, was trying to make our tax policy more understandable, easier on businesses, because that's the thing. If we don't stop our outward migration, then we're never going to be able to advance. We were the only state in the South that was losing population. Thankfully, this past year, we reversed that trend. We actually did grow in population. And the way that we do that is to try to set our business policy in a much better place so businesses will want to come here and they'll want to create jobs. We want to retain our young people. Chairwoman Schlegel talked about trying to make sure that we keep our best and brightest here at our universities. But once we do that, those kids want good jobs, or they're going to go to Dallas, they're going to go to Houston. How many of you have college-age kids who have left the state of Louisiana? There's quite a few in here. We don't want that to happen, and we want to keep them even past college after they graduate. So what we did on the corporate side was we did the same thing. We flattened it to 5.5%. We had the highest corporate tax rate in the Southeast at 7.5%. We brought it down to 5.5%. We introduced a $20,000 standard deduction. We eliminated the franchise tax. Let me explain that a little bit. You can have a net operating loss in your business and still owe the franchise tax. That's ridiculous. You cannot make money in a year and still owe franchise tax in the state of Louisiana. We tried to eliminate it multiple times in my legislative career. It got vetoed a few times, but this year we finally eliminated the franchise tax in Louisiana. It's a very uncompetitive tax. It was pushing businesses away. Louisiana, before we made these changes, was the only state on the business side that had corporate income tax, corporate franchise tax, and inventory tax. Now, I know we're standing in Ascension Parish, and we're going to talk a little bit about inventory tax here, but that's another situation that you can have a net operating loss in your business and still owe the inventory tax. So obviously that's paid on the local level. We want to empower our locals to be able to work with their business leaders to eliminate the inventory tax on their terms. So of course last year we have to do that from the constitutional standpoint because property taxes are in the Constitution. And so part of our constitutional amendment was to give that choice either to eliminate or try to phase out the inventory tax to the locals. That constitutional amendment is going to be on the ballot in April. If that's passed in April, then your parish leaders will have the ability to work with businesses in the parish to try to eliminate and phase that tax out. And if you're not familiar with the inventory tax, basically what was going on, businesses were paying the inventory tax on their business inventory, and then the state was reimbursing it or part of it on the back end with an inventory tax credit. So it was this weird cycle of businesses paying money to the locals and then the state subsidizing that on the back end. And so really, I said, look, if that's how it's going to be, then the state might as well just try to help the locals with phasing that out to help these businesses. And so that's what we did. If the constitutional amendment passes in April, then the state will help the local governments with different incentives to try to phase that out. And really, I think moving forward, it just uncomplicates everything. It was very confusing for businesses. They didn't want to do business here. I'm sure you've heard all these stories with car dealerships, RV dealerships, all these different types of businesses that have really high inventory, that they would just move their inventory to a different state for a few days and then bring it back to try to avoid paying that tax. And so we want our businesses to thrive here. And then this session, we also created a program. We were trying to dial back some of these credits that directly impacted individual industries, and we tried to create programs that could help industries overall. Because frankly, if you're overly subsidizing one particular industry, then that means every other business in the state of Louisiana is paying a higher rate to subsidize that one industry. So what we wanted to do is make that situation a little bit more fair. We created the High Impact Jobs Program, which is more of a grant-style program, and it can help every single business in the state. There's very few exclusions. It's not just one particular industry. It's all industries across the board. It does not operate in a tax credit type of situation. It actually operates totally through Louisiana Economic Development. Those are the guys who are trying to lure and incentivize businesses anyway, and so that's what we did. I think I covered it all, actually. I didn't even see that screen was up there. But the main thing that you guys need to understand is this is not something that we did and then we just said, okay, cool, we're done with doing tax reform and we're just going to move on now. This is an ongoing process because especially states around us in the South, they are changing it every single session. It's a crazy competitive environment. We're seeing a lot of economic growth in the South, especially the Southeast, and Louisiana has to keep up. I truly believe our best days are ahead. We did a lot of good work, but again, it's not over. I'm not done with it. Another aspect of what we do in Ways and Means is the capital outlay bill, so infrastructure. You heard local leaders talking a lot about HB2 and capital investment today. We want to continue to do that because we know that's a huge part of economic development too, is keeping our crumbling infrastructure up to date and trying to address that backlog. Look, I think we had a lot of questions about why we're doing this. It's not an election year, so why are we out here telling all this good news? The point is that your legislature really wants you to be excited about the future of Louisiana. So we're going to continue to do these. We're going to continue to tell the good story, and we appreciate you being here today. Thank you so much. All right, and I'm going to introduce my 11th floor comrade, Big Jack Mack.
Not as quite as big as they used to be. That's what happens when you quit going out at night eating steaks at Stabs and Ruth's Chris. Look, it's wonderful to be here. I appreciate Ascension Parish, City of Gonzales, rolling out the welcome mat. Appreciate you all taking your time this morning. Unless you're a numbers person, you may not really want to talk about the budget, but just like you do at your home, this has been a philosophy for me, and I believe I've heard it said many times since my time serving in local government. Why can't government operate like we do at home? Why can't you sit down around the table and come up with a good budget? Well, this legislature has successfully done that. I've served on appropriations now for 10 years. The first 8 years as a member, now 2 years as chairman. Got several of our appropriations members here. Chairman Troy Romero, chairman of the House Ag Committee, Barbara Freiberg, Denise Marcel, Vanessa LaFleur. So when we talk about a team effort, that's been spoken about several times. That's what this really is. For us, coming into 2024 with a new administration, many of us had never had the opportunity to reduce our state's government, to reduce the growth of our state's government. But fortunately for us, we came in with an administration and with two bodies of the legislature that were willing to sit down and work together, the House and the Senate, the Appropriations and the Finance Committees, as well as the Commissioner of Administration, Taylor Barra, and Deputy Secretary, you may all know him, you might know him, Patrick Goldsmith, which he kind of cheats a little bit because he was our fiscal director for the House Appropriations Committee, so you know, he kind of knows what we're doing before we actually do it. It's still cheating. But in our first year, we held the growth of government to less than 2%. That's the first time that's happened in over a decade. That's responsible budgeting. But what it did was it prepared us for an opportunity to come back in 2025 and operate at a standstill budget. And when I say standstill, I mean we had no growth in our government, yet we maintained every single core service that the public expects, whether it was health care or education. That is what you do at home. That's what you expect of your legislators. Then we took our surpluses and our excess revenue, we had both this year, we utilized those dollars to reduce our state debt. By paying down our debt, our unfunded accrued liability, we use a lot of acronyms, so I'm going to be cautious of that today, called UAL. By paying that down early, we're saving almost $26 million in interest every year that can now go back into those core services. That's how you budget responsibly. The same thing you do at home. We also utilize those surplus and excess dollars to pay down our deferred maintenance on our college campuses. We talk about keeping our best and brightest. You heard Chairwoman Schlegel, the things that they've done. Well, we've got to help her be successful at that by providing those institutions the resources they need to update their facilities. I mean, we've all heard about the roof that's been leaking in Baton Rouge at the main campus for years. Well, our responsibility is when we have those dollars is provide those resources to our universities. And the third thing we've done is we started scrubbing our Medicaid rolls. Everyone's been paying attention. A lot of changes coming down from the federal level. And let me just tell you, a large majority of our budget is federal dollars, especially as it relates to the Department of Health. But as we scrubbed our Medicaid rolls, we recognized that first, we had people still on the Medicaid rolls that no longer live in Louisiana, but yet we were still paying their premiums every month. We have people that have deceased, but yet we're still paying their premiums every month. So there are checks and balances, and as I talk about that, I want to bring up something that the governor started. Governor Landry started Louisiana Doge, or La Doge, much like what you've seen on the federal level. And that group working together, and some of us are on that group, working together, we are taking the opportunity to dive deeper into those things. As a committee of appropriations, we're only in session a few months, but we do have meetings otherwise. But that committee is having an opportunity to go in and take a deeper dive into what's happening with our Medicaid, because we have to be prepared. That's why being responsible with our budget today will prepare us for those shortfalls that we may have in the future as it relates to providing health care to our impoverished, to our senior citizens, and to our disabled. The next thing we've done is Governor Landry had implemented through an executive order a freeze, a hiring freeze. But the only way to really truly do that is to financially, in appropriations, in the budget, we froze those resources. We took those dollars from those agencies that would have went to those salaries. And once again, we utilize those resources for core services. And finally, I forgot my finally. So the state spends a significant amount of money annually buying new vehicles, new equipment. And look, we sat down and looked at that, and we had agencies that are sitting here waiting. We estimated about 200 automobiles that agencies are just waiting on right now that are still at the factories that are already paid for that we haven't received. So why spend $91 million again buying more equipment? That's just common sense budgeting. But to sum that up and sit down so allow someone else to speak, we'll say this. The same things that you do at home is what you expect us to do in Baton Rouge. You sit around the dining room table when things get tough, and we know things have been challenging since COVID. We've seen that we experience inflation just like each one of you. We go to the grocery stores. We know what's happening. We buy gas. We buy tires for our cars. Nothing costs less. So for us to keep up, and especially keep up with the changes that will be occurring on the federal level that will come down to the state level, we have to be proactive and be responsible. So every year for the last 2 years, Speaker de Villiers, when we begin, that's the challenge he presents us with in appropriations as a committee. We got to slow down the growth, we got to stabilize our budget, and we have to prepare because we never know what will happen tomorrow. Next up, we will have Representative Brian Fontenot. He will tell you a little bit about the Transportation Committee.
Thank you, Chairman McFarland, and thank you for Ascension Parish. I travel here from Thibodaux, and I want you to know that probably 11 to 15% of my constituents work here in this community. So it's a blessing to have you and the industrial boom that you have going on here. But as you listen to each one of these speakers, one of the most crucial components to having a successful state is to having an infrastructure and roads that businesses and you and I can travel to and from safely and adequately. So if I asked you today, hey, tell me the 2 agencies in the state that think you need the greatest reform, I think we both can agree that the Office of Motor Vehicles and the Louisiana Department of Transportation are those 2 agencies. So under the leadership of Governor Landry and Speaker de Villiers, a year ago, we chartered a group called by the Boston Consulting Group to examine the Department of Transportation and tell us, just like the scientific method, what are the problems. In this 100-page document, I'll share just 2 things that they delivered to us. The first is all across America, Department of Transportations that put out projects for bid, what we call letting projects. Their success rate is about 82%. That means if they choose in Arkansas to bid 1,000 projects, 820 of those projects go out for bid and get complete. What they shared with us in that report, that in the state of Louisiana, our bidding process and the ability to complete projects is only at 19%. That means when our state Department of Transportation tells you that they're going to bid 1,000 projects, only 190 go out for bid, and of that 190, 90% are overbid and over costs. So what do we do to fix that problem? We come into this legislative session under direct leadership, and I want you to know that as each one of these chairmen have spoken today, they all give you a piece of the puzzle of how we build Louisiana a better place for our children. We can have better education, we can have lower taxes, we can save dollars, we can reduce debt, but again, we have to be able to deliver on highways, streets, and bridges. In the last session, we created the Louisiana Department of Construction. I want you to know that most recently, the parish president of Lafourche Parish resigned his seat to take over this new section in the department under the Division of Administration. And you may ask yourself, why did you take it away from DOTD and put it under the Division of Administration? So first and foremost, our goal would be that we move all state highways, anything that's LA 30, LA 44, and those roads would get funded, they would get corrected, they would get cleaned, they would get their grass cut, and they would work under the Division of Administration. but that empowered us to do emergency expenditure procedures so we could expedite the process to deliver roads to you. One thing that we talked about in the BCG report was trust. And it highlights in 100 pages more than 40 times. It says that you don't trust the Department of Transportation. And I want you to know that in its current posture, before we make this transformative move, neither do we. That's why we must deliver to you something that you can be proud of and that you can physically see tangibly with your eyes, work in concrete moving. In the Department of Transportation, we created a division that's transformative. We have to rebuild a culture, one that you can trust in and one that you can believe in. And how do we get there? Well, we get there through direct leadership. If I travel from Thibodeau, you probably have never heard of a group called CPRA, the Coastal Protection and Restoration Authority. But I want you to know that over the last 5 years, they've probably delivered $5 billion of projects saving Louisiana's coast. And they've done it with only 3 people in their agency, 5 people in their agency. They've done it by working with you. They go out and hire local engineers to deliver projects on a timely manner. And that's one of the initiatives that we've set out to do. We can't do that without dollars. I think we've been blessed under the leadership of Chairman McFarland, the governor, and the speaker. We've saved quite a bit of money. We've paid down debt, and we've been able to refocus those dollars for things that are important to you. In the last session, we delivered in excess of over $710 million for extra projects above and beyond what we would normally fund in the Department of Transportation. How's that look for you? Well, $20 million goes directly for infrastructure development in and around some of your more projects, more specifically, the Hyundai steel plant. We put $10 million to dredge Bayou Lafourche. I know that in Lafourche Parish and maybe here in Donaldsonville is where we get our drinking water from. We put $100 million to fix bridges across this state. And we take that $100 million and we give it to the new division so they can hire private engineers, they can bid the projects, and they can complete the projects. One of the most frustrating things for us as legislators is to be able to understand, what are they doing? We've charged the Department of Transportation to build a portal where you and I can look and see what we request. Where's the project at? When is it going to put asphalt in the ground? Who's in charge? What private contractors have them? All of those things are changing the Department of Transportation for the better. And all of those things are delivering concrete so you in this community can still deliver plants and work for people that live in my community. We wouldn't do it under great leadership. Without them, none of this would happen. In my second term, I would be fruitless to say that I am truly shocked to see the changes that we've made in this state, and I'm proud to stand here. But as I close out the Department of Transportation, the most crucial thing is the ability to live here. So as I introduce the next chairman to you, I want you to know he's one of the first guys I met. He comes from Pollock, Louisiana. He's one of the most Christian-valued individuals here, and he has the tallest task job available. His job is to fix the insurance crisis that plagues this state. So help me welcome Chairman Gabe Furman.
Good morning, Representative Gabe Furman, Chairman of the House Insurance Committee. And, you know, we've heard several sports analogies already this morning, and sort of in that spirit, I know most of my colleagues are wishing that I'll just take a knee and run out the clock since we're at the end of the game. But look, at this point in the game, you also bring in the second team and the poor little subs to pad their stats. So that's what I'm going to do. And I guess Representative McMakin left. I was going to give him permission to use some of these in the game Saturday. And I think many of my colleagues would agree that in a lot of ways, the beginning of the last legislative session felt almost like an insurance special session, and that's because for most of our constituents, the cost of insurance is the number one issue. It's the most important thing to them, and that's because here in Louisiana, we're the most expensive state in the nation for property insurance, and we're also the most expensive state in the nation for auto insurance, and that's unacceptable. So I want to briefly bring you back to the end of the 2024 session. We had just passed a package of really comprehensive property insurance reform legislation that's working, by the way, and I'll get to that. But we felt like we had work left to do when it comes to automobile insurance. And so a couple of weeks after session ended in 2024, Speaker DeVilliers called me and Speaker Pro Tem Mike Johnson into his office, and he said, look, I think we did some good things with property insurance, but I want to focus now on auto insurance. And so he made a really brilliant decision at that point, and he said, look, I want to start having committee meetings. I want to do something we've never done before. I want to bring all 4 committees in the legislature that touch insurance together to meet jointly over the next 6 or 8 months with one purpose, and that's to identify the cost drivers behind automobile insurance. And so he made really, one questionable decision during that meeting too, when he said, by the way, you and Speaker Pro Tem Johnson, it's y'all's job now to fix insurance. So one good decision, one I'm not so sure about. But so on July 11th of last year, we began with this series of joint committee meetings, and look, I made it clear to my committee from the beginning, we're going to focus on data. We're not going to let this turn into an argument between the plaintiff attorneys and insurance companies. We're going to focus on the data, and we're going to, most importantly, focus on the people back home who are suffering. And I think we were very successful in doing that. And really, for me, what stands out is we determined that in our state, we don't get in accidents more frequently than other states, but what we do is we file twice as many bodily injury claims as the rest of the nation, and we litigate to resolve those disputed claims at more than twice the national average. And look, in many ways, insurance can be complex, but on one level, it's really very simple. Insurance companies have to collect sufficient premium to pay claims and to make a reasonable profit. Now, common sense tells you if we're paying twice the amount on claims as the rest of the nation, it stands to reason that our premiums are going to be higher. So, that was really the underlying premise. And from there, we started having these informal meetings. Myself and Speaker Pro Tem Johnson started meeting with a group of 15 or 20 legislators who wanted to run bills and who had made promises to their constituents back home to do something about it. And really, that experience was so gratifying for me, and I think everyone that participated would agree, because there was a spirit of unity and teamwork and cooperation. There was no bickering over who's going to carry the good bills and who's going to get stuck with the bad bills. The focus was on doing what's right for the state and bringing relief to consumers. And so that translated into about 30 reform bills, about 20 of which were primarily focused on auto insurance reform, and we were successful in passing many of those. Probably about 20 of those bills passed, and about 10 of the auto insurance reform bills ultimately became law. And I know we've got, we're on my slides, I think. We might go back to there we go. And I'm not going to talk about every single one of the bills. We'd be here forever to do that. But I do want to touch on just a handful of the really important reform bills that we passed. And the thing that I would bring to your attention is, we didn't reinvent the wheel here. These bills are based on common sense, transparency, and fairness. And in many cases, we're just doing what other states are already doing. So just to briefly touch on a few of those. Act 15, and look, I'm not a lawyer, so you don't have to worry about a bunch of legalese up here. Act 15 says if you're at fault for an accident, you're not entitled to collect for damages. So prior to this bill becoming law, you could be 90% at fault in a car wreck and still collect a windfall personal injury settlement. It's not fair. Act 16, we all are required by law to carry automobile insurance. If you don't do that, there should be penalties. So what this bill does is it says if you're an uninsured driver involved in an accident, you're not collecting on the first $100,000 of bodily injury. You're not collecting on the first $100,000 of property damage. Again, common sense. Act 17 says if you're here in our country illegally, you're not entitled, you have no constitutional right to collect for things like mental anxiety and pain and suffering. So again, very common sense measure. Act 18 simply says if you claim to have been injured in an accident, you got to prove it. Doesn't get much simpler than that. Now, we also recognize that, sure, we need tort reform, we need to implement these legal reforms, but we also have to hold insurance companies accountable. We have to make sure that insurance companies honor their contract and protect their policyholders. And we passed several bills that did that. One in particular, we're almost at a catastrophic state when it comes to commercial auto insurance. So what Act 19 says is if you're a commercial vehicle owner and you install telematics and dash cams in your vehicle, we're going to require the insurance companies to give you a premium discount. One of the most frustrating things we heard in committee is that a lot of times people hire lawyers because the insurance companies didn't take care of the claim for the damage to their vehicle. And so one provision of Act 500, which is ridiculous, insurance companies need to be paying their claims. And so one provision of Act 500 says if you don't promptly pay your claim and provide rental vehicles to claimants or first-party insureds, you're going to now pay increased penalties when you fail to live up to your end of the bargain. There's one bill we left off the slide that was pretty important. It just happens to be the only Senate bill that passed. Hey, that was an honest mistake, right? But Senate Bill 231, which is Act 466, it did address a really important aspect of this whole conversation, and that's inflated medical bills. So many times there's a huge differential between what is billed for a medical treatment and what is actually paid, and that's a huge driver of these bodily injury costs and a huge driver of our premiums. And so this bill simply says that if you've got private insurance or Medicare, all you're entitled to collect is the amount you actually paid for the service. So again, pretty common sense measurement. Also brings transparency to the process, so the jury now will see not only the amount of the bill, but the amount that was actually paid. Finally, on auto insurance, and this also carries over into property insurance, Act 11 gives the Commissioner of Insurance really broad authority to reject requests for rate increases. And so I think it's reasonable to say that to the insurance industry, if we're going to give you all of this tort reform that you've been asking for, it's your job to pass those savings along to consumers. Now that's just auto. We did some really good stuff with property too, although there's been the thought that maybe we neglected property insurance, but we didn't. And you can see a lot of the property insurance reform bills up there. Again, I won't hit every one of them, but every single one of those bills brings transparency to claims handling, or it brings more protections to the homeowner in through the property insurance process. Probably the best thing we did for property is we continued to fund the fortified roof program. Thanks to Chairman McFarland, I guess this is 3 years in a row now that we've funded the fortified roof grant program, $15 million, I believe, this year. And look, this is what we know. If we want a stable, viable property insurance market in Louisiana, that starts by building better structures. And one way to do that is to put on better roofs. And we know that if you keep the roof intact, if you keep rain outside of the interior of the home, it diminishes the severity of the damages. And also, when we get 20 to 25% of homes in a geographic market with fortified roofs, boy, that area becomes very, very, very attractive to insurance companies. And we're making progress there, but I think we do recognize that we can't continue to ask the legislature to fund that program every year. So we passed legislation to make the industry fund the grant program. We passed legislation that will give homeowners up to a $10,000 credit for fortifying their roofs. We increased the tax deduction for fortifying your roof, and again, that's the key going forward. But there's only one way I can guarantee that you'll get a premium discount on your homeowner's policy: fortify your roof. We passed legislation in 2024 requiring mandated premium discounts for homes with fortified roofs. So I'll finish with this. Reform works. We know that. Reform works. It takes time. We're already seeing the fruits of our labor pay off. We've had over 10 insurance companies come into the state writing homeowners policies. We've had several companies file for rate decreases on homeowners, and hopefully many of you saw a couple of weeks ago that over 20 auto insurers have filed for rate increases. That's worthy of applause there, isn't it? So reform works, and I would do this. I would encourage everyone to shop around. You know, the days of sticking with your agent who might be your best friend. I like my agent, but I don't like him enough to pay him double what I could get somewhere else. So shop around with a good independent agent, with the Allstates and State Farms and Farm Bureaus of the world. I visited with the Florida Commissioner of Insurance a couple of weeks ago. They're about 2 years ahead of us when it comes to these reforms. And since January of 2024, they've had 15 new homeowners insurance companies come into the market. They've had 29 insurance companies file for rate decreases. Reform works. Therefore, we're not finished. You know, we're going to keep working. We've passed several House resolutions that you can see. These resolutions are designed to get the data. So we're not going to make decisions based on emotional arguments. We're going to make decisions and file legislation based on facts and data and what's working in other states. With that being said, in sticking with the sports analogies, I'll introduce, I don't know if it's the coach or the quarterback, Mr. Speaker, but I want to say this about Speaker DeVilliers. He's not in it for personal glory, and I think every representative here today can attest to the fact that the first question he asks is, how can I help you succeed? What does your district need? And so I think the spirit of teamwork and cooperation that you've heard about today, it starts at the top and starts with our Speaker, Philip DeVilliers. Thank you.
All right, well, good morning. Thought I could at least get a few of you to say good morning with me. So I want to start off by thanking everyone who put this event together, especially Donnie Miller, Carly Cryer, Meg, Stephanie, and of course Rep. Tony Bacala, all the members of the legislature, and the people of the Capital Region for coming out today. This time of the year, it's usually easy to talk about what season we're in. Most people immediately say football season. And if Dixon McMakin was still here, we would be able to talk about the new voice of LSU Tigers. After the LSU game, I was listening to Garrett Nussmeier, and his first comment was, "Give glory to God." And walking around my house this weekend, I was drawn to a steel door. The door has hundreds of dents in it, dimples. Like if you think of a golf ball with dimples, it has hundreds of dimples in it. And it made me think about a season when my two daughters wanted to be a pitcher. And if you ever raised children in sports, it takes a lot of work, it takes a lot of practice. And my daughters, they wanted to be like their mom because Lisa was a phenomenal pitcher. And then it made me think about a time whenever I really wanted to start dating Lisa. We were high school sweethearts. And I can remember going to her house one day, and it was raining outside, and I knock on the door. And her dad comes to the door, and he said, "Can I help you?" And I said, "I'd like to talk to Lisa." And he said, "Well, she's busy. She's pitching." And my response was, "It's raining outside." So he opens the door and somewhat invites me in and gives me a glove. And they didn't live in a very large home, maybe 1,200 square feet, very modest home. But it had a hallway right down the middle. And he said, "Yeah, we pitch every single day." So he made me get down into the hallway, and Lisa released the first pitch towards me with a real softball. And I couldn't remember jumping out of the way and screaming like a little girl. Those dents in the door, it reminded me of a season of when my children were trying to become someone. And maybe I was just a bad catcher, or maybe they were just struggling to make the right pitch. But every single dent shows a passion, shows a vision, shows a desire to do something better. You know, we all see the person at the end of a game being interviewed after the win. Rarely do we get to see the journey, the hard work, the years of losses, the sacrifices, and the constant distractions, the missed pitches. In 2016, when I was elected, my children were 4, 8, and 12. Our crime rates were disturbing. We were 49th in our national education rankings. We were 44th in our national business rankings. We had 3 personal income tax rates, 2%, 4%, and 6% at the time. We had 5 corporate income tax rates, 4%, 5%, 6%, 7%, and 8% at the time. We had an unfair franchise tax and an inventory tax. Our budget and our government was only growing. We had a non-responsive DOTD and the worst legal climate in the country. But what scared me the most was seeing all of my friends I grew up with leaving Louisiana for a better opportunity for their families. I really didn't see how our beautiful state was going to keep my own children. And today, as we have heard for some of our leadership on key successes over the past 18 months, successes that have helped attract over $60 billion in new investment to our great state. Investments such as Meta, Hyundai Steel, CF Industries, John H. Carter, ExxonMobil, and Venture Global, just to name a few. These investments will bring high-paying jobs across Louisiana. My children are now 15, 18, and 22. And as they seek to find a path in life, we will continue to work to do our part to provide opportunities right here in our wonderful state. We have moved fast in 18 months, moving up in our national rankings and down in our insurance premiums. We are paying down debt and holding criminals accountable. We are writing Louisiana's comeback story. And like Nussmeyer said on Saturday night, I would like to give all glory to God. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today, and may God bless each of you, our country, and the great state of Louisiana. Thank you all very much for y'all's time today. I know it was a very long meeting. We are going to be staying here for probably another 30 minutes. If you have questions you'd like to come and ask any of the chairs, we have probably another 20 members here. I think if we'd be in the Senate, we'd actually have a quorum, right, Senator? So we'd be happy to hear what your concerns are, hear what your comments are, and see how we can work together to move Louisiana forward. Thank you, and God bless.
You're gonna be okay.